Hey everyone, and welcome to the video. Today we're basically going to be going over everything besides the missions, so everything else that we get with the DLC pack I want to kind of talk about. Now I think I've got all of my main topics for today written down, however I may miss something, so if I've missed something feel free to write it in the comments and I will give you my thoughts in a reply, because I probably will have missed something in the end, but I think I've got everything I basically want to cover today. So, I've got these 7 things I basically want to go over today. I think it's pretty much everything that makes up the side stuff of the DLC, and then after that, I'm going to be able to give you a score out of 10 for how I feel about this DLC pack. So, let's just get straight into it. So, first things first, let's talk about the new activity. We have the Kaiju Wingsuit Challenge. I think that's how you say it. I'm trying not to butcher it. So, overall, I genuinely think it's quite a fun activity, and it really takes some use of the wingsuit. It's one of the more fun things you can do in the game for sure. It's quite hard, you do need some skill, and it's very easy to mess up. But I think it's an absolute blast. If you basically want to hop on, fly around, and have some fun, this is that. If you just want to come on, meme around with the wingsuit and get some cool badass action shots whilst jumping through some hoops, it's cool. It's very much reminiscent of Skyblazing, which in my opinion is a very good thing. I like how it kind of trains you to use the wingsuit abilities to its full potential whilst showing you how to also use the new boost. I feel like this boost was supposed to be included with the DLC, but I've had it the entire time. I don't know why, but like I've had this boost thing pre-DLC for a really long time, but once I completed this activity, it kind of gave away the boost as like a reward, which doesn't really make sense to me because it was like, oh yeah, you've unlocked the new boost, and I'm like, bro, I've had it the whole time. But yeah, I think the wingsuit activity is an absolute blast. As you can see, I'm having so much fun just going through it. Very reminiscent of the like Genki style activities we used to have. And yeah, I have no complaints really. I think it's really fun, really takes advantage of the wingsuit, and basically finally utilizes the wingsuit for all it's worth, since it's one of, in my opinion, the best things about this game. So after that, we have the new crib. Now, my thoughts on the new crib are as such. I think it's great. It has tons of callbacks to the older Saints Row games, specifically 3 and 4, and personally, I am a huge nerd for Easter eggs. They have tons of Genki references, Killbane references, they have the dubstep gun in there, they have the America weapon, they have Zemos' cane. Yeah, as a Saints Row fan, a huge Saints Row fan, this to me is very cool, and I have no complaints at all. So, the new crib, I mean, it's not necessarily the most aesthetically amazing thing. Like, do I think it's visually the best crib in the game? Probably not. I'd say the Saints HQ is a better. But when it comes down to just pure nostalgia factor and things I like in my crib, I'm going to give it to this one. I'd say it's probably the best in the game for me because I love how all the Easter eggs kind of come together. So next, I want to talk about the Chicken Ned at Giraffe. So I want to talk about this because I think it's fucking hilarious. So you go to the Chicken Ned thing, you give it a low score, and a bunch of chickens come after you, and you have to shoot them all. Super fun already, but then after that, you get by far the most fun vehicle in the game. Like, it's a fucking blast to drive around. I think I've got it in my garage, so I'll just get it out for you to kind of show you, because I do think it's actually worth kind of seeing for yourself. So it's called Ned's Chicken Skipper or Chicken Stripper or something, and I think it's great. Oh shit. I think it's great. I think it's just a really fun vehicle. I do have a customized version, but it's not on the save. But if you're on stream, you know how much fun we had with that thing. And this thing just goes flying. It's so much fun to drive around, and yeah, I think this vehicle as a whole is just an absolute blast and kind of the balance of like wackiness but also fun I like in Saints Row. It's not too overboard, it's not too crazy, it's just a fun vehicle. And it kind of reminds me of like the O-Ring, for example, in Saints Row 2, where it's like a vehicle based on food, but it's still just kind of fun and doesn't disrupt the gameplay too much and make it too unrealistically weird. And yeah, for me, I think this vehicle's a huge W, an absolute blast to drive and mess around with, and I recommend that if you haven't done the side hustle, just give it a go, because I promise you this shit is some of the most fun you can have driving in this game, for sure, despite my awful driving skills. So one thing we also managed to bless ourselves with is a new aircraft. We finally got a new helicopter, and for the most part, I kind of like it. It's kind of like an attack helicopter mixed with some of the helicopters from the earlier Saints Row games. And yeah, I really like it. I think it looks cool, I think it does some genuine damage, and I think it's probably the best air vehicle in the game, besides maybe the VTOL. Yeah, super fun to mess around with, super cool, and I think this game is really lacking in aircraft, so having a new one, even if it's not your favorite personally, I think we can all admit it's a W. More aircrafts the better, and yeah, I think it's nice that they finally added one. Speaking of things we all like, though, they finally added a new weapon. Now, personally, I saw this in the trailers and I was like, big whoop. But it's actually one of the most useful weapons in the game. No joke. So as we know, the wingsuit is amazing, one of the best things in the game. If you shoot this in the sky, it launches you into the air, which can put you into a wingsuit. So this now makes anywhere in the map a wingsuit zone. So you can practically just wingsuit from the ground, like, perfect. And especially mixed with a weird, like, zoom thing you can do. It's just ideal. I personally love this weapon now, and whilst I don't use it as an actual weapon, it's just great for getting around. I think it makes movability nice and easy. Now, I have the comment of, does this make vehicles inadequate now and just completely pointless? Not really. I find myself driving a ton in this game. The driving's really fun and satisfying. It's not like superpowers in Saints Row 4, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, the driving's good, so don't worry. You can still drive and it doesn't feel stupid. So we also got some new customization, and I'd say I'm somewhat underwhelmed. We got a new wetsuit, we got some do-rags and some sort of like headscarves and stuff. And I mean, it's not bad, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like I'm angry we have new options. They just wouldn't be my picks, I guess. I feel like some sort of like bathroom robes and stuff and slippers probably isn't what I think this game really needed out of those somewhat new options just as a whole. And there's not a great deal, but I do think it's not total trash, and more options are better. I'm sure someone out there is pleased, but for my character, for example, this DLC didn't add anything that I would typically consider wearing. So yeah, the new customizations, either love it or hate it. I personally am just not too thrilled with it, but that's up to you, of course. And then finally here, I want to basically just discuss the new weather. So they've added a few new weather states, and overall, I think they're pretty nice. I think they make the sky look beautiful in this game. But kind of just that. It's no big deal. They make the game look a lot nicer, and I do think it kind of mixes up the gameplay a bit. I was getting kind of stale with how I felt the map looked, because desert themes, they get kind of old real quick. And I do think the new weather spices it up just enough that I'm not bored now when playing. So yeah, the new weathers, they're a bit of W, lots of cloudy weathers, and it basically looks like it's about to rain. I know it can't rain in the desert, but I would kind of like to see a raining weather state. I think it'd be a nice dynamic change for the reboot, and I think it'd just breathe a bit of life into the game. I don't know about you, but I feel like weather states are kind of important in a game, and I think that having a little bit of rain would have just been really nice. So I guess maybe in the upcoming update, maybe we could consider some rain. I feel like that would have been real nice for this game, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense. And before you're like, hey AJ, it's a desert, come on, they can't have rain. We had snow come out of that car, okay? Like, we can do rain. We have particles. We have particle effects. We can do rain, man. So, come on. Where's the rain? I would love to see it personally. But yeah, I guess that kind of does it really for the side stuff of the game. Not a great deal to go over, but I do think some of what's there is quite important, so I guess people are going to kind of want my overall thoughts on the DLC now. So as you know, this is the part 2 video. If you haven't seen my part 1 discussing the story and missions, go check it out before you hear my score, because otherwise it may not make sense. So, for me, I feel like this DLC is quite middle of the road. I think there's some really good elements and some things I really enjoy, but I also think there's some quite underwhelming aspects of it. Specifically, some of the missions I'm not too thrilled with, and I do think stuff like the customization could have been a bit better. But then, on the other hand, I love the new district, I love the new vehicles, I love the new cribs, I love the new weapon, I do like the last mission of that DLC, I love the new activity. So, I'm walking away again, kind of like my first video, a little bit conflicted. But as a whole, I'm going to give this DLC kind of like a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. It ain't bad. I think it has some good elements, and I feel like people will just kind of overblow how bad this DLC is for the sake of it. But if you want like an honest score, I feel like a 6.5 to 7 out of 10 is basically how I feel. Mainly due to those first couple missions. The rest of the stuff, it's either just mid or like not that bad at all. Like, you either love it or you're like, not really too bothered that that's in the game. There's nothing like annoying, I would say, about this game besides a couple of the missions, and that's really it. So with the DLC, it's either you love it or you're just kind of underwhelmed by it, and I don't think people out there saying it's atrocious are necessarily on point. It may not be great, but I still think it's decent, and I still think it's probably worth it financially wise. I mean, like, for $10 you get a new crib, a new activity, new vehicle, new weapon, new customization, a few new missions. You can do a lot worse, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, for me, I feel like a 6.5 to 7 out of 10 seems fair. It's not overly fanboyish, but it's also not overly harsh. It just feels kind of like a just score for me. Let me know what you think down below. Give me your score out of 10. I'm curious to see if people agree with me or disagree with me. I feel like this time my score's quite fair. I'm quite known for being quite easygoing with my scores, I guess. I gave the initial impressions a very high score, but I'm trying now to really think out my scores a bit more before saying them, and for a DLC, I think it's not that bad. I just wish the missions were a bit better, but that's kind of all my complaints. Anyhow, thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, guys.